Hello everyone, today I'll be showing you how to make these two simple mushroom sprites that can be used to essentially make an endless platform. So let's get started. So the first thing you'll want to do is open up Krita and make a new document. So click on File, click on New, width set to 300 and height set to 150. The resolution you can leave it at 300 ppi. Let's name our little document over here to mushroom. Yeah, that should be good. I will be showing you how to make the sprite sheet as well for this so that you can import it into a game engine or use it wherever you like. The first thing you'll want to do now is set the background for your image. So as you can see, I have my two colors selected already. So the first color is going to be this sort of yellowish orangey type color, and I'm going to essentially fill this entire canvas with this color. So I'm going to make a new layer, and you can do that by clicking on this plus icon right here. Let's name this background because this will be the background, or background, that works too. I mean, it's fine because this will be the background of our mushroom. Now this will be the base color, in fact, not in the background. So let's just choose the fill tool and left click on our canvas. Boom, there you go. Now our canvas is this weird orangey yellowish color. Alright, so now I'm going to make the border of our mushroom platform thing. So I'm going to make a new layer and make our border on that. Okay, so I'm going to pick the rectangle tool, and now I'm going to right click and go in, click on this, left click on this little thing right here and select pixel art. Now I'm going to select pixel art round brush, and I'm going to go into size, set the size all the way to 10. I can just literally type this down once. The second I click on it, I can type 10 and boom, there you go. It's a nice quick thing for you. Alright, so now I'm going to try and make sure that I am very close to the edge of the canvas. In fact, if not very close, at least on the edge. You have to be at the edge of our canvas. Fortunately, Krita will by default sort of snap to the edge, so that's a plus point. And I'm going to go all the way to the other end, and boom, nothing happened. That's because I'm a stoop. Alright, so let's try that again. This time I've selected the color to be black, not the same color as our background. My bad. And I'm going to repeat the process. There you go. So this right here is our nice little outline. Now I'm going to duplicate this and leave this for another time. We'll work on the layer 3 right now. That is our main background. I'm going to disable the copy I made just for later use. It'll be there. I kind of want to erase the areas over here so that I can essentially add more and more of this piece both to the left and right side of this particular sprite. So I'm going to select my brush tool, pick the hard eraser. You can right click, select the categories from here, go into erasers, and you should see a hard brush right there, a hard eraser. And yeah, now I'm just going to delete our just the ends, just these outside ends right here. That's it. Let's just zoom in a little bit. There you go. Alright, as you can see, I've removed the left and right outlines of our sprite, and now I'm going to add circles inside just to kind of make it seem like it's a mushroom. So there are multiple ways to go about doing this. First of all, I'm going to show you a very simple one, and then I'm going to show you a slightly more complex one that will look a little bit better, but it's totally up to you to make whichever you want. So right now I'm going to select the ellipse tool, and I'm going to go into tools right here, tool option. I'm going to make sure that my fill option is set to foreground color and outline is set to brush. Now the reason for doing this is because I do not want a hollow sort of circle. If I were to change the fill to no fill, as you can see right here, this is not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that's a proper circle that's completely filled. So I'm going to set it to foreground. I'm going to right click and make sure that my brush is pixel art round. And now I'm going to essentially make sure that the circle I draw, the top and bottom points of the circle just barely touch the top and bottom of our outline right here. So I've made a new layer right here. I'm going to put it below my outline layer but above my background layer. And now I'm going to do the process. I've already selected the color that I want. It's a sort of more towards orange and less towards yellow color. And yeah, I'm just going to left click, hold down shift and make a circle. Okay, now as you can see, this is pretty big. So I'm going to select the transform a layer tool, that is keyboard shortcut Control T. And now I'm going to go to any of the edges, any of the corners, and left click, hold down shift and try and resize it. Now the purpose of holding down shift is so that it essentially kind of maintains the aspect ratio of our little circle over here, just to make sure that you don't end up with a weird image like this, which really it doesn't look good at all. So I'm going to repeat the process for the upper corner so that the upper point of our circle just barely touches the outline of our mushroom. And I'm going to do that. There you go. And now I'm going to hit enter. Now I'm just going to move the mushroom a little bit. Now it doesn't really matter for this particular sprite where our mushroom is over here, because we will be moving them to the ends over here. However, for the second type of mushroom that we are going to make, I will need to place one circle in the center and then 4 circles in the corners, as opposed to one circle over here and 1 circle over here. All right, so we'll work on the first mushroom for the time being, and then I'll quickly show you how to make the second time. It uses the exact same principles as the first mushroom, so that's perfectly awesome right there. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make sure that I've selected the transform a layer tool, left click anywhere around the center of our image. This is known as a pivot point as well, because if you move this around here and there, you can essentially rotate it around that point. But if you do not mess with it, it is the center of our image by default. So I'm going to hold on the left mouse button and then hold down shift to move it along an axis. And now let's just fine tune it a little bit so that it is exactly at the end of this canvas right here. And I'm going to press enter. Boom, there you go. I'm going to repeat the exact same thing for the other side. I'm going to duplicate this layer right here. So I'm going to select my circle layer, or the layer that our circle is on. I'm going to duplicate it by clicking on this double paper icon right here. And boom, there you go. Now, if you do have any trouble with actually using the transform tool after you've duplicated a layer, don't worry. All you need to do is select a different layer and then go back to the layer you want to move, and there you go. You can just left click and boom, you can use a transform tool as it is. So I'm going to repeat the same thing. I'm going to make sure that it reaches to the end right here. See, it's a little bit out there. That's very bad, because it will actually show up when you say put like 5 or maybe 6 or 7 pieces like this if you connect them. Now we're done with that. So this right here is one type of mushroom that I want to make. All right, so for the next type of mushroom, what you want to do is essentially put these mushrooms or these circles in the corners of our image. So we're going to do that real quick. I'm going to do that right about there, right there, like this. It's the exact same process as the previous type of mushroom, but this time it is in the corners rather than the ends. Now this is starting to look like Swiss cheese. I know it looks delicious. It looks very delicious. I know that, but you have to control yourself. Even though it looks like Swiss cheese, it's not Swiss cheese. It's something you made. All right. There you go. This is one type of mushroom. Now you can have another type, which is just a small variation on this one. You can, if you would like, you can actually have a 5th circle that'll be the center, that'll be in the center of our mushroom. So to get it dead into the center of our mushroom, we have to have a grid, or you can actually eyeball this if you think if you're confident in your skills to eyeball it. So I'm going to go into view and click on show grid. A whole slew of stuff showed up. I'm going to get rid of most of it. All right, let's just go. We'll repeat this. I've shown it to you multiple times. In fact, you can just copy what I'm doing real quick. It's not all that much different from the past times. 150 with a 75, hit OK, there you go. Okay, so now this is the center of our image. I'm just going to push it a little bit so that it's like dead in the center right there. And there you go. Now see, this is the third type of mushroom you can make. I mean, I'm going to stick with just this type of mushroom because I kind of like the simplicity of it. However, you can always go for this. This looks really cool as well. I know, right? Alright, so now what we have to work on is the end piece of this mushroom, because if you just keep on adding this piece over and over and over again in an infinite line, you can actually do this by pressing W. So if you have this in an infinite line, it has to end at some point, otherwise it'll look like, wow, that is such a trippy thing. But yeah, it'll look like that, it'll look ugly. So I'm going to make an end piece for this, and that is just as simple as making the middle piece. So I'm going to duplicate the group layer I made earlier. To do that, to make the group layer, all I did was I clicked on this little arrow right here. Oh, my bad. I clicked on this little arrow right here, and I clicked on group layer. I selected all of my layers that I wanted into the group, and I left click and dragged it into the group layer. That's it. That's all I did. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate this group. This is going to be a little bit tricky, so you'll have to pay very close attention. You'll want to delete the first circle you made. And that's it. Nah, I'm just kidding with you. Okay, so earlier when I duplicated the outline, the box layer right here, I did duplicate it for a reason, and this is exactly that reason. So I'm just going to enable that duplicated layer. I'm going to bring it down here. And now I'm going to start erasing any unwanted portions, which is for the time being the portion of this to the left. This portion is not needed because this is going to symbolize our end. Now I'm only working on the right side. However, if you want to work on the left side, feel free to do so. But honestly, I feel like you can just flip the final image and you'll get the left side end anyways. So I'm not going to work on that. So now here's where it actually gets tricky. What you want to do is right click and select a pixel art round brush and set the size of it to around 2. Let's set the color to around, to black. And we'll want to kind of make a sort of corner over here. I kind of want to round this off. I don't want it to be so sharp. So it's going to be quite difficult to kind of mimic this sort of thing over here as well, mimic it perfectly, might I add. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to enable the mirror vertical tool. So this right here basically just mirrors everything that happens on either sides of the line right here. You can see this line. It mimics anything that happens on either side to the other side. So it's really cool because I can kind of bring the line all the way up here and draw a tiny portion over here and it'll be drawn over here. It's a really nifty tool. It's very, very helpful. For the time being, let's just merge the two layers that we made. So we have this layer and then we have this layer. So I want to make them the same layer. What I'm going to do is right click on the topmost layer and click on merge with layer below. There you go. Okay, cool. We have that down. Okay, now we're going to sort of round this off. I'm going to do this as a sort of speed sort of thing because I feel like it's just going to waste time if I talk you through it, because there really isn't much for me to actually say while doing this as well. So yeah, apologies for that. Also, I will be using only two brushes. One is a pixel art round and one is the hard edged eraser. All right, that's it. And there you have it. That right there is a rounded off edge. Now, as you can see, these little things over here, they are totally unwanted. So I'm going to select my background image right here, my background layer, and I'm going to delete them real quick using the eraser tool. Now, I'm going to disable the vertical tool, and there you go. That right there is our image. So now we've completed both of our images. Now, if you want to make a similar sort of end piece for this pattern, you can just follow the exact same way, the same method that I used, which is just rounding off the edge. Or you can just add a simple line over here and that'll dictate the end of this sprite or platform. So I'm just going to let this one be. I'm not interested in this one. I'm more interested in this piece and this piece right here. I'm more interested in these two pieces right here. Now I'm going to save these two as PNGs. Alright, so I'm going to go into File, Export, and as you can see, I've gone to my designated folder for all my images. I'm going to make sure that this is a PNG image by clicking on the drop down menu. I'm going to name this mushroom 1 and click on save. Now you can leave the options as they are, or you can just make a few tweaks here and there. It totally doesn't matter. I suggest you just leave it as they are by default. Click on OK, and that's it. Now I'm going to repeat the second process. Now I'm going to repeat the same thing for the second piece, and this time you'll want to make sure that the background image, that's this layer right here, layer 1, it has to be disabled, otherwise you won't get a transparent effect over here in this corner. It's going to look white, and that's just going to look weird. Okay, so now for the sprite sheet, I'm going to make a new document. This time I'm going to make sure that the width is set to 650. Now I do want to add both of our sprites that we made earlier in one picture, so I have to make sure that the width is double of one piece, so it's 600, and then I'm adding 50 just to add a sort of little bit of empty spacing in between each piece. Now the height, you can leave it the same, 150. However, again, I kind of want to have a sort of spacing left between the end of the image. So I'm going to, let's keep it at 150 probably. Oh, 175, sorry. Resolution, you can keep it 300, that's totally fine. Alright, so here, as you can see, I have my images right here, mushroom 1 and mushroom 2. I'm going to control click and select both of them. Then left click and drag them all the way into Krita. Click on insert many layers. You do not want to click on open many documents, because otherwise you'll just end up with 2 extra documents, totally unneeded. Now I'm going to select both of these. So I'm going to click on the first layer and then hold down shift and click on the second layer. Now I'm going to press T on my keyboard. That should bring the move tool, that's this tool right here. And I'm going to try and bring this down. And I'm going to move it to the right a little bit so that there's a little bit of extra spacing right there. This is kind of what I'm looking for. Now I'm going to select my last sprite, which is the end piece for this platform, and I'm going to left click, hold on shift, move this to the left, no, to the right, sorry, I don't know my directions. Now I'm just going to simply disable the background image so that this actually is a PNG and it turns out to be transparent. And I'm going to repeat the same process. Click on file, export, and let's name this mushroom sprite sheet. I'm going to make sure that it's a PNG and click on save, leave the options as they are and click on OK. Alright, there you go, and that right there is our beautiful looking mushroom sprite sheet. So now if you want to see a excellent use case scenario for this particular sprite sheet, Demkeys has done an excellent tutorial on his channel where he uses this sprite sheet along with 2 other sprite sheets we make in this series to make a game, a very simple 2D platformer game. So yeah, I really hope you check it out. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below. It's a good tutorial. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope this tutorial helped, and goodbye.